actually started Rutgers University. That's where I had my first full-time job at Rutgers University.
And what
in Newark,
you graduated from?
Indiana University. I graduated, my bachelor's degree was from Ohio State.
Oh, you've been around. Rutgers, Ohio.
I went to NYU for my master's degree.
In nursing.
Nursing education.
And that was in Greenwich Village or up
In
northern?
Greenwich, it was in Greenwich Village.
Now that's a wonderful place.
Yep. That's when I lived in New Jersey and I had to take the train in to the city all the time.
I heard Ramdas talking there when he wasn't Ramdas yet, him and Tim Leary. I heard so many people.
Yeah, we used to go up to Columbia to listen to a lot of different speakers too.
My sister always told me I should become a nurse practitioner. She said, "Oh, it's the way for the future."
Let me tell you
I
something.
never did it.
You wouldn't want to be there. You wouldn't want to be a nurse practitioner now.
No, the pay is comparable, is it?
Oh, the pay is excellent.
It is?
Oh, yeah.
But
Most of them are making $100 an hour.
so what's the problem?
The problem is productivity.
A lot?
Oh my God, you have to see so many patients. The healthcare system is in a lot of trouble because of what happened with the pandemic.
Right.
So
I
they've
know.
got a lot of debt and they're trying to see as many patients as they can to try to make up for the
Is
debt.
that what?
I talked to a lot of my past students. Sure.
Hi, everyone. We're going to get started in about 1 minute. So if you haven't grabbed food or water and you want, please do so. Yes.
Oh.
All right, everyone. If anyone can take a seat, we can get started. That would be great. All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. If everyone could settle in, that would be great. Awesome to have so many people, including SMPD, here in person tonight. Thank you for joining. Thank you for having me. I guess I have to. There's the technical gavel, so that's been done. We got a few people online, but largely an in-person meeting tonight, which is awesome. As usual, going to get started with Halima and Officer Galvin from Santa Monica Police to talk about all things police, and then it's going to be more police because we've got the police chief with us tonight to chat with all of us. So I'm going to hand the floor over to you now.
everybody. Really great to see you all in person. I'm excited to be able to meet you. So I don't want to make it extra policey. I'll try to be quick, but I do want to make sure that you guys get your time with the chief and to be able to ask questions by Elizabeth. So I'm just going to go over some of the main things I noticed. And there was one in particular that seems to spike a little bit in the last 30 days, which is residential burglaries. So I looked into them to see if we're talking about garage break-ins or actual entering unit. And I saw a little bit of both. So there was your residential, like subterranean garage break-ins, vehicle break-ins, cars that are left unlocked in the garage and then broken into. So there was a lot of that. But there were also a couple where people entered through windows or patio screen doors. And so with that being said, I kind of wanted to highlight that because sometimes we tend to think, okay, the door is locked, but we're not necessarily thinking about other entrance points, other points of access. So one thing to remember is making sure that you're locking your windows, your doors, that you're looking, just doing a final walkthrough before you're leaving the house, when you're going on vacation, before you're going to bed, things of that nature. We also offer free security assessments, so we can come to your home, we do a walkthrough with you, and we'll just talk about ways to help kind of increase security. These are all just suggestions, you don't do any of it, but it's just an option, and we're happy to come and set a date with you. I brought my business cards, they're here at the table, so if you do want to set something up like that, just give me a call or email me, and we can always set up a date. Additionally, the other thing that we talked about this last month, was the pickpocketing that was happening on Main Street cars. We were mainly seeing this at the Victorian and at Jameson. There was an arrest that was made a couple of months ago, but we did see more incidents of this nature happening. So we don't know if they're connected or if there are other people that are coming in, but there have been a couple operations that the department has been doing. So it's just something to be aware of. The last incident, at least that I saw noted here, was May 13th or that weekend of May 13th. I didn't see anything since then. That doesn't mean it's not happening. So make sure that if you are there, that you're watching your purse. It's not the entire purse. What they're doing is something that I'm guilty of. I'll leave my purse open when I'm walking around with it, and they put their hand in there, grab your phone, grab your wallet, whatever they can reach for. Sometimes in the back pocket. So if someone has it on their back pocket, they don't even feel that they're snatching it up. So just something to be aware of in those situations, especially crowded rooms like that, alcohol involved, any of those things. It's a perfect opportunity. So again, we are doing these operations. If you know any information or have been the victim of one of these and haven't reported it, please let us know. It's really important for us to be able to use that data to know what's going on and to know that these incidents are still occurring. That's all I have for here. So after we had our presentation regarding different numbers to call the city, Aaron and Sean had reached out about putting something together that was just kind of a comprehensive list of numbers for you guys to be able to have access to. So we made a little flyer here. It's certainly not an exhaustive list. It doesn't have every single number, but it just has some of the more important numbers to think of in the city. So the homeless liaison program, their voicemail numbers on here. We have a county number on here as well, and LA HOP, which is a portal online. This isn't only specific to the city. This is through the Homeless Services Authority, and they will send out a team if you have a particular homeless person that you're seeing every day at this time. They're always in the same spot, so you know that if they send out a team, they'll be able to make the outreach. So they're really, really useful. Right now, they've been having about a 2-day turnaround. Wow. And code enforcement, this is for municipal violations, so not necessarily criminal, but this includes like noise issues, leak blowers, abandoned buildings, like things of that nature. That would be code enforcement. So I put their number on here. 311, talked a litlittle bit about that in the presentation. So 311 is not when you need immediate assistance. I manage that one for PD, and it is really stressful when I see this after like 2 days, and it's like, you need to send someone out right now. Please do not do that. This is when you need someone in that moment, it's 911, or if you need someone that day, it's going to be like the non-emergency line, which is also here. But 311 is like your general requests. If you're sort of unsure, it will be rerouted to the correct department. But just general requests that you might need. You can even, it doesn't have to be PD. It could be like resource and recycling. It could be like public works. So it goes to the different departments that it belongs to. And then community affairs is down here, which is us. I didn't have enough space to put each individual number, but our main line is here. And then of course my business card is here. I'm your girl, so. The other person would be Susie Lockwood, which is actually this area would be Susie's area. But either way, you can reach out to me and I will connect you. So yeah, please grab one of these before you head out. And I also have the little blue cards. I have a couple more phone numbers for the city. So that's all I've got.
Great.
Thank you. Also, just while we're on that subject, Aaron, do you want to talk about what we're going to be doing with that just really quickly? Cool. Thank you for driving that, Aaron. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Robert Galvan, San Juan Police. I'm in community affairs as well. I'm neighborhood resource officer for B2, which is Pico South City Limits. It's myself, Edgar Navarro, who's in Halima. The way I like to say is Halima and Susie. Halima, they run the office. They tell us what to do. So we're just that call of Halima. She's really the boss. She's directing Edgar and I to handle everything. Just a little about myself. Some of you may know, some of you may not know. I was born and raised here in San Juan on 31st and Ocean Park. So I'm very familiar with the Ocean Park area, with the whole neighborhood, with the beach. I grew up at the beach. Spent as much time at the beach as I could. A few events that we have coming up. June 22nd, we have an Etch and Catch where we team with Firestone on Lincoln and Michigan. Halima will get you registered to get you a reservation. Pull your car into Firestone. They'll put your car up on a lift. They will scribe on your catalytic converter your license plate number, and then they'll spray paint it orange or green. Takes like 5 minutes, and then boom, you're out. It's free. They do it for free. We do it for free. The only thing we do is we get the employees from Firestone. We usually get them Chick-fil-A. So they get some, we get some. So kind of it's a trade-off. And also the coffee with the cop. Is it the same day? Yeah. So also June 22nd, coffee with a cop at Estate Coffee, 28. It's on 2700 Ocean Park. It's on the south side. On the north side of Ocean Park. We're across the street from Clover Park. Really, really good coffee, good sandwiches. So we'll be there at 12. 11 to 1. 11 to 1. See, she tells me. So if you can join us for coffee with the cop, the 22nd, and also Etch and Catch. My card is here along with Halima's. If you want the information about the Etch and Catch, email Halima, or you can email me and we'll get you registered for the event. It's from 7 to 9 p.m. We usually have around 50 or so residents show up. If it's full, we might be able to sneak you in. Just tell us that you know a police officer, or maybe we'll just drop a name. Say, I know the chief. Yeah. You have to just grab one of Halima's cards.
Yeah, just
and
email me.
And email her, and then she'll send you a link or she'll sign you up. So catalytic converter thefts are on the rise. It's not particular to Santa Monica. It's county, state, country wide. Because of the precious metals that are in the catalytic converter, the resale of the catalytic converters. So we've seen people at the catalytic converter events show up and say, oh, my catalytic converter has already been stolen. And it's been stolen with a cage or a plate that a mechanic can weld on it. So yes, they can still be stolen with the cage or the plate on there. It takes like two minutes longer, but I still suggest getting a cage or a plate on it. All the catalytic converter events we've had, no one has ever come and said, my catalytic converter was stolen with you guys etching and spray painting it on there. So that's one thing that I haven't heard that yet. I haven't heard someone say, yeah, I just got it etched 6 months ago by you guys and someone stole it. We haven't heard that yet. It deters hopefully the crooks from, or whoever they're reselling the catalytic converters to, is now the person buying it is like, well, now I can't resell this because your license plate number is on it. So
I just want to add, they will still steal it. I don't want to. So that can still happen.
So, yeah.
However, there's been new laws down, so this is statewide, and it is making it more difficult for them to resell when they've been etched. So it's kind of working hand in hand, and we are starting to see a little bit of a decrease happening. But there is no foolproof method here, so I don't want guys to think that that's going to be the case, but it does help. So, and it also helps on the other end with being able to do prosecution evidence. What ends up happening with this is we find the person that has a bunch of catalytic converters, but there's no victim. So there's no victim attached to this crime. So when we have the etching of the license plate, we can actually attach a victim, helps us more with further policies, helps with prosecution and evidence. So it's kind of like a full circle thing there too. And with having those kind of prosecution opportunities is where we're able to develop new.
So quick question. Do you see that etching mark?
Yeah.
After they take it out?
they'll see it.
Oh, did it? Yeah, because it's bright. It's like
Yeah, it's bright.
So when they get under the car.
When they land in the car,
Yeah.
it's fluorescent orange or green. It's whatever color we give them. So it's, as soon as they land in the car, they're gonna see that it's spray painted. Yes.
What I'm wondering is that when we get it done, it's part of the little emblem that we can stick to that number. And when they see that, it might convert.
Yeah, like a sticker, maybe.
Yeah.
Something we thought about. I've seen a picture of a Toyota Prius on the north side, and they put a piece of paper on the window that said, "My caliper has already been stolen. I have a plate." Just taped a piece of paper on there. I don't know if they got stolen since, but.
I had it done the first time, when they did it at the place.
Fire tooling.
Did they do phosphorescent at that time?
I think since we've been doing it, it's always been fluorescent green or orange.
You don't, not sure though.
I'm pretty
No,
sure. Yeah, yeah.
It's the same
yeah.
paint that we looked at. Yeah. It lasts
What
forever.
is the date on?
June 22nd, Thursday, June 22nd.
And I'll make sure both the not etch a sketch,
Copy of the-
the etching event and
We call it etch and catch.
etching catch. Thank you. And the copy with the copper in the newsletter. So you'll see it there as well. But there's contact info for that.
Good.
Jeff, you had a question?
Probably less than a minute.
Really?
Yeah, I did it at my friend owns Joy Automotive. So I did it. I did it. I didn't land in the car. They put it up on the lift, and I have a battery operated Sawzall, and it's literally. Zzz, zzz, zzz. They don't have to jack a car. It depends on the kind of car, but they don't jack it. It takes so long to jack a car, makes too much noise. So they just lay under.
Just some parts are more.
They just lay under there, and
Will, you had a question?
Yeah, just real quick. Before when we talked about this, earlier you said, because like Hondas were like a likely target, Jeeps were number one. Are there particular vehicles or banks?
Priuses
they're all-
and then the
Toyota
Humvees,
Priuses, Hondas, Jeep Cherokees,
Oh, sure.
for the trucks,
and some trucks.
higher.
Yeah, if you're not sure, just Google your car year and model and catalytic converter and it'll tell you.
Sure. Yeah.
Robbie has a question?
have something like that, but yeah, we could repurpose it.
Did you have a question over here?
Actually, what I'm thinking of, I know this concept.
Um,
Well, what I'm getting at, the answer, I met some guy that was electrifying his door.
door handle?
What's the legalities of
I don't think it's against the law. Yes.
that? What about your house? Electrify your fence?
No, I mean, they have electric fences, people who live on farms, and they have dog collars that's you put the little remote on the edge of your property and the dog gets too hard, it gives them a little zap. Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer, but I did go to law school. Make sure you're not doing anything with lethal force. Cool. Unless there's other questions.
Yeah, we will, if there's any other questions, the chief is here. I don't want to take any time from the chief. But my card is here. You can call, you can send myself, Liam or Edgar an email. It doesn't have to be two. It can be about anything anywhere in the city. It doesn't have to be about police. It can be about, if you want me to tell my story about getting married, that Jerry knows. You know, I'll tell you over the phone. Yeah, it doesn't have to be police related. It can be about anything. Just have the conversation.
Thanks, officer.
Jerry.
Jerry, last question.
Yeah. You're gathering names now for the next police academy, the 10-week session on Wednesday, which a couple of us participated in and graduated. It was really fantastic, and I hope people do it, and I know some have already,
Right.
but you know when? the next one
It'll
is?
probably be in September or October.
Oh, good.
Just email Halima. She'll tell you. If
We're
there's
always
any,
collecting applications.
Yeah, if you want to apply now, that it's open, and I believe it was in the newsletter last week that there's a Spanish language one that there's open enrollment for right now.
That's for July, so if you know anybody Spanish speaker would like to take it, please send it my way.
Cool.
yeah.
Thank you.
I noticed there's no enforcement on the scooters, electrified vehicles on the bike path. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but it's not happening.
Yeah, it's difficult. We're dealing with a lot of tourists. We're dealing with people renting their scooters or in Venice and coming up north. We did years ago, we did a little operation with the scooters, and we confiscated a whole bunch of them. Like a truck, we got a giant truck from City Yards and we put them all in this truck. And then the next day it was the same. So the good thing is the bike path has been expanded. If you go north of the pier, there's now I'm not saying that it's still okay to ride your bike on ride your electric bike on the scooter on the bike path, but north of the pier, there's the running lane and then there's a bike path. So there's two separate. So I run on the running part and then there's a whole bike part.
I'm sorry, we really do have to move on.
We can talk about some type of operation about that. We can talk about
You can
an operation.
but the chief's been waiting patiently. We do have other business that we have to get onto, so.
Just call me, send me an email, we'll talk about it.
Thank you. I'm also passing around a sign-in sheet, so please do so and pass it around. I think there's one coming the other way as well. Thank you, officer, for coming tonight. Thank you, Halima, as well. Speaking of getting married, just another congrats on Halima recently getting married. And so perfect. So way to introduce Police Chief Lisa, who we've been communicating for months about him wanting to come once we were back in person, and now we're here. So it's a great opportunity for you to get to chat with the community.
Thank you so much. I'll try to be as brief as I can so I can take some of your questions. But before I get going, I just want to say thanks to Halima and Robert. They are tremendous and they do really, really good work. Robert is really kind of downplaying a lot of the roles that the police officers do within community affairs, but they are like a Wikipedia of resources and ideas and how to mitigate a whole host of problems that when I'm around them, I learn something new about, like, oh, there's this department or that department that can come out and help out on a number of situations that don't quite fall under the police department or the fire department, but it's like some kind of city department that can help. These guys really know how to point you in the right direction with the resources. I also wanted to say that I've been getting a lot of really good feedback on the city's responsiveness to using 311. And so where it's come into play and worked really well is if you begin to see that there is some type of an encampment that starts to pop up somewhere, please use 311 because it is going immediately to our homeless liaison team, and they're going out and addressing those things. On the last count that I looked at, they were averaging just slightly over 80 311 requests a month. They are very responsive, and I think that the feedback that I'm getting from, like I said, residents themselves saying, hey, why aren't you guys talking more about 311 and how well it's working? So honestly, in the last 18 months, 20 months since I've been here, I've seen 311 really expand and get better at making sure that it's getting to the right departments. The only onus I would say that it's on the residents is making sure that when you're using 311, that you put in the correct information, because that I think is probably the biggest gap that we have with information, is that sometimes the location's not there. And so we go out, can't find it. Resident gets frustrated because the issue's not being addressed. Lo and behold, there's that miscommunication between where it's actually happening. And by and large, the officers are pretty good at going into the area and trying to kind of figure out where it's at. I mean, there's not that many encampments. Normally, if you give a cross street or an address, and they're pretty sharp about kind of figuring out what's going on. But nonetheless, the address, the accurate location really helps. I'll be as brief as I can, talk about an overview of our crime statistics. So about the 3-month mark around March, what we noticed is that we were having like a pretty noticeable spike in crime. And since that time now, at about the 6-month mark, what we've seen is that it's leveled off. So here's an example. I think at one point we were experiencing like a 14% spike in crime as compared to the first 3 months of the previous year. So now, 6 months into it, I sure hope those are fireworks. And now, 6 months into it, what I'm noticing is that 14% spike is now turned into 7%. So in that time frame, it's gonna cut in half for the most serious crime. And the most serious crime for us is obviously, things like assault, robbery, rape. We haven't had any homicides, knock on wood. The violent crime. But one of the things that is leading the way in that particular crime arena for the city is what was mentioned earlier, and that is catalytic converter theft. So at the last count, which I think was in May, what I was looking at, late May, we were at about 215 catalytic converters that had been stolen up until that period in May. 215. And when you think about that there were a total of 312 all of last year, if we're at the midpoint, we're on track to probably hit 400, right? And it is very, very important for us in those situations, like what was described earlier, is if you hear sawing or weird noises in the middle of the night that sound like metal saw, call 911. What we've done with OEM and 911, which is not a part of the police department, a part of the city manager's office, is we've instructed them that when those calls come in the middle of the night, as they're asking you for all the additional information that they can get, they've already dispatched the officer. Because as Robert described, we only have a couple minutes. And although the officers have been very successful in some instances in stopping people that have either the mask, the gloves, the jacks, the catalytic converters in their car, it just takes a couple of minutes, right? But the times that we've been successful have been when the officers have either seen it on the spot when it's happening, they drive by, they see something suspicious, and they do what we want them to do. They drive by, they see something suspicious, and they stop. And they ask a question, hey, what are you doing under that car? And it's worked, right? I mean, I know we kind of laugh, but I mean, a couple of years ago, there was not a lot of engagement going on after, everything that happened and the pandemic and everything else. Police officers across the country were kind of keeping their distance. Well, now I got to tell you that they are back and they are doing the kind of work we want them to do. They see something that's out of place in an alley, on a street, they're taking the time to get out there and proactively ask a question. What are you doing? And hey, it's a free country. People can walk away if they don't want to talk to us, and we respect that, and that's fine. But if they're engaged in the middle of cutting off your catalytic converter, then we want them in that space. We want them in that position to kind of go, not here. And so we've had some of those cases. We've had some great traffic stops where the officers find a trunk load of catalytic converters. And up until recently, we now have an ordinance that allows us to be able to charge them. So tomorrow night, it's going to be the second reading of our city's catalytic converter ordinance. And what that will do is make it so that it's illegal for you to be in possession of a catalytic converter if you're not a mechanic, if you're not somebody who's legitimately going from point A to point B with a catalytic converter. Like, we are smart enough to kind of figure out the crooks from the legitimate residents or mechanics that are going to be moving around with a catalytic converter in their possession. And so that gives us the ability then to actually charge somebody with a crime if they're in possession of these catalytic converters, because before that, all we could do was seize them and couldn't charge them with a crime. But now at least we'll have a little bit more leverage in these situations. But we've made great traffic stops. People, like I described, had the jacks, the gloves, and all that. They're doing this kind of crime in two cars. So one car will have all the equipment, and the other car will have all the stuff, the catalytic converters. And the reason for that is so that if we go to make a traffic stop, we don't catch both things at once, right? Because then you're going to be in possession of burglary tools and the goods. That can be like a more serious crime than if you just stop one or the other. So the people with the jacks and the gloves and all that stuff, they'll stop because they know, they're like, you know, this isn't illegal. But what's good for us is that in those situations, we're identifying who's doing this kind of stuff. And 9.5, 9 3/4, 9.9 times out of 10, the people that are coming in and doing these kinds of crimes in Santa Monica are like hardly never, ever Santa Monica residents. They're all coming here from other parts of LA County to commit the crimes. And as a matter of fact, while I'm on that topic, most often the kinds of more serious crimes that occur in Santa Monica, they are not Santa Monica residents. And that's a testament to our community, to you, and the kind of people that we have in the community. Yes, we run traffics, you know, we run stop signs, you know, we commit traffic violations, and every now and then there's a disturbance in the neighborhood that we respond to for our residents. But the most that we deal with is not having to do with any kind of violent crime for our residents. So with that, let me tell you that the officers' on-site activity, the self-generated activity that they're doing from last year to this year has increased. And last year it increased over the year before. And so all of that has meant that what we're seeing is a reduction in the number of 911 calls that are being generated in different parts of the city. So I'm looking at, like, beat 1 is downtown, this is beat 2, beat 3 is the center, beat 4 is the area of Montana. And in every area, there are fewer 911 calls that are being received. A component of that has to be the fact that the officers are out there being proactive. Because in addition to that, although this isn't the only barometer that I use, they're also making more arrests than they were last year. Now, a good point that I think is to point out that while last year we had a record number of encampment calls that we responded to, this year it is slightly less than last year by about 100 or so incidents. That's good. It's not the be all end all. We certainly have a lot of challenges that we deal with, you know, but between the help team and the patrol officers going out there, community affairs, the neighborhood resource officers, the special directed action response team that works in downtown and the pier to address issues of vending and homelessness on the beach, they are doing phenomenal work. Also, the officers that work in downtown services, it's a very small unit that just focuses on downtown. They're all doing really, really good work. And if there's just one thing that I ask you, and I'll open it up to questions after this, is in your everyday feeling about the city, if you run into an officer in uniform, just say hi. You don't even have to say thanks, just say hi. Because I got to tell you that a hi and a smile just totally makes our day. And it is just something that we need as human beings. And as if any of you guys are like owners of businesses, you know what it's like when you want to keep your workforce generated and interested and focused on what's in front of them. And that stuff really works. They're human beings, and a little pat in the back with a smile, I'm telling you, makes a world of a difference. So with that, I'll open up to any kind of questions.
Sorry. Want to ask about, you don't see license plate readers, I've heard about that. Security operations centers, speak a little bit about.
Yeah, so,
What's coming, if it's gonna help.
yes, so prior to May 31st, 2020, the city did not have any license plate readers in the city. Now we do. So the first phase of them was implemented about 4 months ago, and they're on the outer skirts of the city, kind of trying to pick the best ingress and egress points into the city. And so a license plate reader just basically allows us to get a picture of a license plate and the description of the car when it crosses those cameras. We have now recently installed another set of license plate readers as a test in downtown. So that'll give us a little bit of a concentric circle. So we'll know when a car comes in, we'll know when a car, more than likely these incidents are occurring in downtown, when they make it into downtown, and when they get out, and of course hit those other cameras. The idea is that it gives us a really good opportunity to figure out who these people are and where they're headed, especially in situations where we have a good description of the car, and now we have the ability to kind of track where they went. We're also using a drone as a first responder. So that's a drone that's responding to 911 calls. It is getting to calls quicker than the officers can get to the calls, like 80–90% of the time. And it's obviously because it doesn't have any traffic to deal with, and it can launch from the main station. And right now we have the ability to cover probably 95% of the city. And that's brand new. Before we could only cover about maybe 50–60%, but now we've been able to extend the range to about 90–95% of the city. We've been using the program for a little bit over a year. It is very, very successful. There have been times when we get overhead and the pilot can call the person that reported the crime on their phone, talk to them on the phone, and basically get more information. And there have been times when residents come out, and they're like, I don't see you, where are you? And they're like, no, we're above you. They're like, oh my God. And then they'll be like, you went that way. And I got to tell you that time and again, because it's all about minutes, right? In just a handful of minutes, people can travel blocks. And if they're jogging or if they're on a scooter, like literally they'll be gone. So if we were to leave that kind of response to just a regular patrol officer driving, trying to get through traffic to get to those calls, those people are gone. But with the drone, it's overhead like in a matter of minutes. And every time, we've been able to successfully guide the officer then to where the suspects are and then take them into custody. I could tell you so many stories of the success that we've had with the drone. And then the last thing that I'll mention is we are working towards having what would be called like a real-time data and crime information center focused around a lot of the issues in downtown. So we'd be able to kind of fuse together the data from the license plate readers, the drone, different cameras into one center, so we can continuously be kind of aware of what's going on. And it is a system that I think as the 2028 Olympics come on board, something that we need to have in order to be prepared. Because I'll be honest with you, we need a lot more officers than we have, but they're really expensive. And it's going to take us a really, really long time before we're at the staffing we need. But between now and then, our efficiency and effectiveness has to improve. Because if there's one thing that I've noticed about our organization is that we have great people, a great culture, but somehow the technology component was not taken care of years and years and years ago. So we're really got to catch up and get ourselves up to speed, because like at any given moment, either a resident or myself should be able to kind of tell like what's going on with our crime just by going to a website, just by looking at what the statistics are. And it should be easy. Like at a glance, you should be able to see what's up and what's down, who we stop, why do we stop them, what crime is up, what crime is down. And right now, we're not where we need to be with that kind of stuff. So these are all technology-based solutions that I'm looking to implement into the future. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Taking pictures of cars and all that. The car being stolen, is the information disseminated with all the cops so they know what to look for?
Yes. Yes. So as soon as you make the police report, it goes into a database system, and it'll be all throughout LA County that they'll figure out that we've got that. And If one of those cameras happens to pick up that car with that plate, it'll alert the agency within that area. So we have those cameras. Beverly Hills has those cameras. Torrance, Culver City, a lot of cities have them now. So yes. I think, I don't know if they have ALPR cameras. I think they do, but I'm not 100%. Yes, ma'am.
It's like you're going to work, your job, it's digging in the house.
So the staffing is, we have minimum staffing that we're supposed to have. There's like a minimum number, and no matter what it is, we're always making sure that we have that minimum number going out. That's where things like overtime come in. There's always been a lot that those questions about why so much overtime is being spent in Santa Monica. Well, to be honest, the basic staffing level for Santa Monica has not changed for years and years and years and years. And the way that they supplemented it was with overtime. Where many years ago, there used to be a big perk for people that wanted to be police officers in Santa Monica. I was like, hey, you can work overtime. Great. Nowadays, the generation that we're dealing with today, like they're younger. They don't want to really work on their day off. Does anybody else here want to work on their day off? I mean, if you're a certain generation, yes, but I mean, for the most part, no. They want their day off, and so that's not becoming quite the perk that it used to. And then every other agency in LA County that's also having this problem is also throwing a whole bunch of overtime at it, and so it's not the perk that it used to be. As a matter of fact, it can be a little bit of a downside because the officers are, after a long week, like they're looking forward to their time off. They're not looking forward to being told by the sergeant that they got to put in another day. So it's a long, complicated deal, but we do special operations like that, and they'll focus on whatever different crime is impacting us at the moment. We do a lot of them in downtown, and we ran a couple of them on the catalytic converters. But the challenge is that even though we have an idea as to where they hit, they're not consistent, right? And so we can put everybody out there, and there'll be nothing then. So it is challenging, even though it's 8.5 square miles, like it's still like there's a lot of places where people can roam around. Yes, sir.
Yeah, these volunteers, you just mentioned police academies, citizens joining, that supplements you. But how many real officers do you need? And also the encampment for this. It's kind of a general term. Do you have, is it more specific? Because I talked to an officer at Alvin Campus, and he said they have a structure that's intent.
Look, I mean, if you come across any kind of situation where you can see that somebody is like, beginning to kind of compile things, then report it. Like, don't wait until it turns into a full blown, tent and everything else. It's okay to report it because we'll go over. We're very, very careful. We'll go over. We'll give a warning. We'll come back if the guy says nine times out of 10 when we give a warning, the person's like, okay, they pick up their stuff and they move along. But on the very first effort, we don't like immediately go in there and just like start moving people. Like we go through the process of giving people notice and the opportunity to move on their own, or we offer them a place to go stay. Even when we have the opportunity to take them to a place, or when we partner with somebody like the Salvation Army, it's always a toss-up, 50-50, whether or not somebody's going to take the services. But it is a very slow and methodical approach. And so don't hesitate to call us in those situations because the officers are very well trained. We're very caring and compassionate. That help team, has got all these phenomenal statistics. And you know what their lowest statistics is? Arrests, because that's not what they do, right? What they do is they go and they talk to people and they try to connect them to services. And that's because we recognize we're not going to arrest our way out of this situation. We're going to try to funnel people towards getting services. So the number is pretty high. Right now we're at about 221. There was a measure that was passed. It's called Clean and Safe. It was passed in November. It's a TOT tax on hotels, and that's going to afford us 6 officers and another sergeant, which is really good. So it'll raise our number to 228. But obviously that's still not enough. I mean, I've talked about a number of 250. My staff has looked at the things that they need internally. They've talked about numbers as high as 278. It is going to be somewhere in that range that we need to ensure that over time, when our financial footing gets to be where it needs to be, that we continually start making that progress towards raising those numbers. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take us a while. But I think that I've always had the support of the manager and the council. And so I think that over time, we'll get to where we need to be. But it's just a matter of, it won't happen overnight. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you for showing up here.
So I have a question specifically, I guess, about crime, safety, the unhoused, and the mentally unstable unhoused. Can you speak to like what is the bottleneck for addressing those issues? So having more officers is one thing you said that you're in need of. But if you can speak to it, like, is there any bottleneck in terms of like, well, you need more authorization for city council? Or is there a bottleneck in terms of what you're getting from the community? What are there bottlenecks that can be addressed through influence to allow more addressing of these problems?
So there are good things that are in the works that are happening. Because of the passage of, so speaking of something that worked, right? The passage of that measure, Clean and Safe, is going to make it so that we're going to be able to partner with the Salvation Army. And the Salvation Army, like of all the groups that we've worked with, the Salvation Army is like, they've just been terrific partners at helping us guide people into shelter. And so often some of the shelters that they have are outside of Santa Monica, right? So now we're going to probably officially have a contract with them so that they're going to be getting paid to work with the city of Santa Monica exclusively in this area for us, with us. That's one thing. The other thing that we've been working on is something called the therapeutic transport van. And so for all of us that have seen a situation where somebody is in dire need, but they're not breaking the law, but they're not medically, like you can tell maybe medically something, it's not going to be a fire department thing, and it's not going to be a police thing. But somewhere in this space here, like somebody needs help. So in that space, we're going to have something called the therapeutic transport van. And a therapeutic transport van is something that the city has been working with the county for almost 2 years. And it's finally come to a fruition where a contract's been signed and the county is now actively looking to fill those positions. So it's going to have a driver, it's going to have a clinician, and it's going to have somebody who has been a homeless person, who's gone through that process and is now working with the county to try and help people that are on the street find a place to live. And so there are solutions that are in the works that are going to help this issue that we have with people that are experiencing, severely mentally ill, drug addiction, and homeless, all of those things wrapped up into one. The other thing that's going on with that measure Clean and Safe that I think is a really good thing is that they're going to be able to deploy one more social service program that is going to work east of Lincoln, because right now, as it was, the social service teams that we had, they were focused on folks that were experiencing the greatest amount of mental illness and distress. We're all working west of Lincoln. So this additional team is now going to be focused on working east of Lincoln. And then one last thing that I think is really good is that the police department has for years had 2 clinicians that come from the Department of Mental Health assigned to the police department. So like roughly for about the last year or so, maybe a little bit longer, we've been operating with just one And that's really challenging for us because one only then operates with a help team, this team of officers that just does homelessness stuff. But we were missing the other clinician who's assigned to the patrol officers. And why that's important is because the majority of the calls that we deal that are related to homelessness and people experiencing mental illness are for patrol officers. And so having the clinician assigned to patrol is like one of the best leverage points that we have, because the DMH clinicians have a direct line with the county and county services. And so oftentimes the places that they can place somebody who needs help is outside the city of Santa Monica. Again, another benefit. So with respect to what you can do, I'm telling you, you've spoken really loudly. You've said, prioritize the issues of homelessness, prioritize the issues of public safety, and little by little, the city and city government are moving in that direction. So it is, but I'm telling you, rest assured, right? Like, it is a continual challenge. It's not something where I think we're gonna reach a point where we say, hey, we've landed and we've hit the mark. I think it's always going to be a lot of work.
Thank you for coming tonight. We do have to wrap up. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No,
I do want to put one last question out there. This is a group of people that just by definition of being here are leaning in on the community, and see if you have any sort of tips or best practices for being more engaged citizens or helping be part of the problem, part of the solution.
So I'll tell you this. I forgot to say it right when we started talking, and that is that I so much appreciate the opportunity to meet with you in person. I've been lucky that I've gotten to know some of you in conversation, that we've had coffee, that we've walked around the neighborhood, that we went on a ride along. We've done a lot of things, and I want to continue that. And I really, really appreciate your engagement. There are times, right, when I go to community meetings or meetings with business groups, and I hear, well, Chief, the reason why you're getting fewer 911 calls is because people aren't calling anymore. And okay, if the number was somewhere like if the number was in a couple hundred calls, that I was like, oh, look, it's like a few hundred fewer calls than we did last year. Okay, maybe I would say a component of those could be situations where people have stopped calling because they were frustrated with 911 or frustrated with the officer that responded, whatever. But when I am looking at the statistics and it's like literally coming up on nearly 4,000 fewer calls for service from 911 from the residents, that's not people saying I give up, So I think that a part of that has to do with the proactive work of the officers. So, but with that, let me just say, never stop calling us. If there's something that's weird or suspicious, you got to call us. You got to give us an opportunity to go and look at it, because a couple things happen. One is we put a pin in our crime map as to something that occurred there. And so that gives us an idea of what's happening where. And the other part is you give our officers the opportunity to go out there and engage with somebody. And if they're not doing anything wrong, it's Santa Monica. That's not our culture. We walk away and they walk away. But if something's up, then we want them in that space and we want them asking questions as to what's up. So with that, that's the message.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
As the chief said at the beginning, don't hesitate to say hi.
Yes.
An officer.
Yeah.
I've been down just to have a smile conversation, come to coffee, and the cops, they're always very receptive to.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
Thanks for coming tonight.
Take care.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Good night, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for the salad. Fantastic.
Thank you.
We're here on that. Shifting into board business. I know. Sure.
He received a Santa Monica Conservancy Award on Saturday for his work with the street scenes. And if you haven't seen his work, please let us know and we will pass it on to you. And because of his work, we are looking into making walking tours of both Main Street and the 3rd Street historic district coming this year. So I just want to tell you that Mark has been seen. So
He's been seen.
he's in but he will be back on the 22nd to get this all going.
Thanks, Patty. Shifting into committee business,
I know a couple people had to leave, so if you do, please don't hesitate. If you haven't had food yet, please help yourself. Let's kick off with communications committee. I'll talk quickly about the update blast. There's nothing crazy new to report there in terms of changes. Numbers are up a little bit, and I know Robbie is going to talk a little bit about an effort he did to work on numbers and reach, but it's continuing to grow, and readership is fairly stable. Robbie, should we show that now, or do you want to wait? Oh, yeah. So pull this up on the screen here.
Yeah, if we can do this really quick, but just wanted to recap and what we're learning in terms of trying to grow the membership and those. So really quickly, we can just spin through. Two things that we've tried at this point is to do some social media marketing around getting more newsletter people signed up, and then actually seeing if there's an appetite for people to join the membership directly. Basically, what we've learned is that we were able to get in front of a lot of people that are in the Ocean Park neighborhood. Over 6,000 people saw these ads. I can, click ahead and let you see what they look like. But basically where we had some success, this was the newsletter ad, just a recent ad that got published. And then the OPA one was just a little more, I suppose we could play this, make it a little bit bigger, slideshow. So you might have seen that on Facebook or Instagram or something like that. But where we had the success was getting people signed up for the newsletter. Obviously, an awesome source of information that Sean has put together, and Mark got off the ground. So where we're thinking we're going to keep spending money is trying to get more and more people onto the newsletter. You might have seen 2 weeks ago, there was a push to try to get people to convert from being newsletter readers to being members. A few of us had a conversation about what it actually means to be a member. It's really about kind of like putting in that, doing it for the cause in terms of we are a nonprofit organization that does a lot of good, hopefully for the neighborhood, and trying to appeal to that on a yearly basis. So anyway, that's kind of what we're learning and where we're going to take this going forward. We're going to try some stuff with Google. And then the other thing that is part of this deck is just the swath of people that we're reaching here. A lot of people, everyone from their 20s to 65 plus are seeing this type of a thing. So we think it's a pretty good approach to, try to continue to get the word out. Obviously, word of mouth is awesome. Patty's always here ready to sign people up for the membership if that is something that you want to do. But anyway, that's what we're learning. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask. So this is all great, right? Yep. So what comes next? And what comes next should be, give us your money, and this is what you get for it. Help us close Main Street. Help us, find grant writers for capital improvement projects, and we'll do things like, close Main Street or whatever the right term is. I think that could be a good way to get engaged, right? Start to give us $20.
Yeah, no, I love that. The official next steps that we determined was we want to use the more public events that are coming, the 4th of July parade, Open Main Street, as a way to generate buzz. And then that should be a good time to convert people to the newsletter and then get the word out for the membership. And I think this idea of what is that, maybe there's a small group of us that get together and say, what does it mean to be a member of the OPA? Because yes, I did a very bad job articulating it there. But we should kind of really make that
right, because they give you $20 and I feel like part of the neighborhood, right? Because I'm going to get something.
Exactly. Yeah,
I think we should have dinner at the mayor's house.
That was just one.
Thank you. And just closing the loop on that, another thing you're gonna be seeing from us hopefully over the next month is we do have a list now of all the homeowners in Ocean Park that we're gonna hopefully be doing a mailer to all about OPA and including the magnet for police contacts around. But we're trying to outreach everyone in the community. We're not able to get a list of renters, but we are trying to reach everyone. This is one of those paths of doing that. Always encouraging people, if you know someone that is in charge of an HOA or a large rental building and can help get us connected. While we have 2,000 contacts on our mailing list, there's nearly 20,000 people in Ocean Park. We need to figure out how to get better connected with everyone in the neighborhood. Jeff, you had a question?
Can you comment? Can you load this up to an 8.5 by 11 and send it out with your letters? All the contacts.
The magnet that Aaron is working with the police to create is going to be included in that. Judy or Will, anything to share about Open Connects?
Yes, it kind of connects with Ian's group. The woman at the city, whose name I cannot remember right now, who's in charge of DEI, diversity, whatever, I don't know what her actual title is, but she wants to come and talk to us. And so probably not in 2 days, Wednesday, but maybe the next Wednesday. We'll see what works for her.
We're still plugging along, same number of people, but they're still coming, so.
Good.
And we had the code enforcement, Dan Mick, last week, and he was really, really good.
Sounds good. I think that's all things communications, unless I missed something cool. Member engagements. Let's start with the 4th of July parade. We're 4 weeks out, 3 weeks out. Wow. Jeff, what's the status? What do we need?
Decided to cancel it for lack of interest. It's moving along. This time gets really chaotic here the 2 weeks before. But if anybody wants to volunteer, there's lots to do, but you gotta go on our site, SantaMonicaParade.com, and pull down menu for volunteers. Because to show up at the last minute to volunteer doesn't really work.
It must be desperate.
Yeah, but, you know, there's a lot, everything from helping with registration, the entrance, helping out with roadways, blockades, signing people in when the cars and trucks come in, be in line. Decorating, we always need people to decorate. It should be fun. We don't want to make it sound like it's an obstacle. People come and they say, okay, and then they put one flag on it, they say, we're done. So we really need people. We have about 7 to 10 vehicles of ours, all the bands that go on. We need people to decorate.
I clicked on the link on the newsletter, but I haven't heard back from the email. I clicked on the link in the newsletter to offer to volunteer. Who's monitoring your email, your inbox? I haven't heard back yet.
Jenny and
Yeah, Jenny
I clicked on the link in the newsletter. Nobody responded.
newsletter.
Yeah, there was a link that said email here to volunteer.
On your email? Yeah. Who's answering?
That would be.
Yeah. Probably goes to the site.
No, it goes to Santa Monica Parade site.
So they're probably putting it on a list and then.
I think we want to volunteer. So we want to follow up.
I don't think they'll follow up piece by piece, every day. A few more come in. Gather all the people, the volunteers, and get them all together. They usually have a meeting before. It doesn't happen. They have a meeting for all the captains, all the entrants. They have a meeting for all the volunteers. They're pretty organized. They'll get to it, but I don't think they're going to respond individually to every person inside. So it's way too much. We have hundreds. And also, just so you know, we're switching it back to the way it was. It's going to line up at City Hall, and it's going to head south to Marine and end at the beach lot. Oh, just to let you know. Just more detail.
Good to know.
It's Judy saying.
If we are still looking for a volunteer to spearhead the OPA vehicle for decorating and organizing that, so please, if there's someone. Cool. Anything else on the 4th of July parade we need to talk about?
Well, I'll talk to Jeff. I'll help with that.
Cool.
Is Earth
Thank you.
coming forth this year?
Earth Cafe or Earth the Planet?
Haven't heard a word from them. Did you?
Earth?
Yeah. Earth.
First traffic.
Did you what? Well, they usually bring coffee and cake. Well, they used.
They used to.
And then.
Somebody there asking.
Well, yeah, but, so you don't have them aboard yet.
I haven't
It's
spoken.
probably too late. Okay.
Not too late. Just that.
No, they have a certain amount of monies they put out during the year and then it stops. So what month are we in? We're in June, July. It might already be gone, so you have to ask them way early. Okay,
Thank you.
I love her.
Unless there's anything else on the 4th of July parade, please, if you're around, it would be awesome if you could volunteer even in a small way. It is a monumental effort, so thank you, Jeff, for spearheading. Shifting to sharing an open Main Street, Rob, you want to give an update? Hunter's here as well. We can answer any questions or talk about that as well, but it's back.
Like I'm in the corner over here, come over here. But yeah, conversations underway with the Main Street Business Association to partner with them, and we sent the email out last week, just encouraging. Just want to be clear that it's not a hard and fast rule. 3 people. Yeah, I got your reply. I hope that didn't come off to you.
Well, I just had a couple of questions right off the bat.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough. But what we would love is if you know people that would be great vendors or sponsors to be part of making Open Main Street an awesome event. Please do reach out, and we shared all the information that anybody that's considering that would need to be able to make a decision whether they want to participate. I know Jenny's got several calls scheduled with interested parties. I don't know if off the top of your head, do you remember what some of those were we just were talking about?
Yeah, so, hey, sorry, step out of the cage here. So really what it comes down to is we need money. And we're not asking anybody for money, we're really asking for connections or introductions. We have a whole sponsorship kit, we have people to do that, including me, Jenny's done all of our events. So really, quite frankly, we're just looking for ideas like, hey, my cousin works at Snap, that example, but something like that. And I'm willing to make this introduction to, Hunter or Jenny, or whatever. If you want to go through Nick or Sean, that's fine too. Doesn't matter. We just need to find a way to make it expense. Unfortunately, the city has made it way more expensive to do them. Past, the city was able to sponsor them, and they paid for a lot of stuff. That is no longer the case. So it's kind of like we gained some things on one hand, but we lost some things on the other. So we need a lot more sponsorship dollars. So if you have any connections like that, we'd be very grateful.
So what would you give Snap?
What?
What would you give Snap?
Whatever they want.
So in the deck, there's like
I'll see if I can.
You can name a stage. You can.
Yeah,
There's some interesting. Jenny had some.
There we go.
ideas.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I do know that there was like a real estate person that we reached out to. There was a sports person. I mean, there's a list of. There's a Google sheet that basically has those businesses that we've connected with so far. Jenny has planned conversations, so anyone is appreciated. And August, we're talking about having a pickleball event, which would be kind of fun. So a lot of
drag show at some point.
Yeah,
That's
that.
right. Back
That
up.
wants to have a drive through.
No, that's back up. That's right back up.
All right, but anything I'm missing?
No.
Okay,
Thank you.
And the first weekend is?
It's 12th and 13th of August. Something like that.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's correct. If you're interested in getting involved with helping with some of the planning there, please reach out to Robbie. If you don't have info, reach out to me. I'll connect you with Robbie.
When does school start? SMMUSD, August 21st and 24th.
Anything else on Main Street? Judy, Robbie, Hunter?
We are having a meeting next Wednesday at Asheville at 5 o'clock for anybody that wants to join. Participate for Open Main Street.
Cool. All right. Arts Task Force, Nick. Anything?
Yeah, we are still waiting to hear back from the art recovery for those items, but we are beginning to plan a self-guided walking tour. So what the theme of that will be is really up to the community. So we're working on drafting copy, Sean, for you to put in the newsletter where people can vote. We have a few different options and we'll have to open-ended ones. So we got 4 or 5 different themes that we will plan it on and then begin working towards that. The goal is to have it ready to be launched by the end of September so that we can do a kickoff event. People can walk around and see whatever we determine is art in the neighborhood, self-guided. If anybody knows, anybody is tech savvy and wants to help build something online to guide that, that would be awesome. That will be in the copy as well.
Cool. Diversity. Ian had to leave. Judy, anything more on diversity right now? I don't think so.
No, that was my
Yeah.
part of the announcement. Ian's been out of town and he's back, obviously.
Yep. So he had to leave because he's a little jet lagged. He literally flew in today, I think, from Europe. Shifting into renters. Anything newer to report? I don't think so. Cool. And same thing on homeless. I think we've talked quite a bit tonight. Aaron, did you have something more on that?
And numbers, I think the 2 things that are missing, or maybe someone who knows how to do graphics. And then like helping.
I think we've been struggling overall as an organization to get people with graphics expertise.
Yeah.
If anyone knows someone, please. We should probably put a call out in the newsletter. Maybe someone will respond to that. So that'll be something I don't mind.
Another 2 options be many times for printers as in-house.
Yeah.
So you give them the information and then do it. There's also, I'm just trying to links on the website right now.
99.
Thank you. 999 is fine.
Yeah,
They
that's
can,
really good.
they can.
Yeah.
I think I would start with the newsletter and then see if the printer has it.
Yeah, and if not, even like maybe a contractor like Fiverr,
SMC
is doable. Cool. And we'll follow up on numbers. I think Patty and I, we had talked about, I want to say over 2,000. Like we were looking at a pretty significant number because we have to check what the mailing list is and then do like plus 500. So we have.
The mailing list is what, 2,100? And then
I think so.
Yeah.
Will
Probably about
needs drive budget or will budget drive?
We have budget,
We have budget.
so
Mhm.
it's needs.
Just a very quick question on this. I was wondering about, can we add the suicide number to now, the national suicide hotline now? That's, and also, I forget which number that is.
Can I go there about it?
I mean, as
We
long as
need to
we're
make
doing
sure
that.
it's not super bloated.
Yeah, if it's not too
Yeah.
much.
Catherine, you had a question?
So I just thought. Chamber of Commerce is great in finally creating an intern program for more. They might, and everybody that came to the first meeting of it, come on, remember how many creative houses there were? I run.
Yeah, we're gonna see.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, you two could chat about it. That'd be great. Thank you. Cool. Don't think we have any education updates, especially with Christina out of town, and you don't have anything to do, John.
Well, we just thought there's a new superintendent that we'll reach out to, and then, there was some chatter about what's going on with the playgrounds, the park, on Fifth Street. So, there's some information on that, but it's all just technical. It's not locked and people can go in. It's just a matter of time before construction starts. That's about it.
I think that's it for all the task force items and committee items, unless I'm missing anything. Moving on to special agenda items, have 2 items there. One is July. Sometimes we have a July meeting, sometimes we don't. Putting it out to the board, should we have a July meeting or not?
If we're having all of that stuff happening in August, we should have it.
I would think so.
And also, I'm supposed to give a whole lot of,
Board,
stuff,
right, updates.
updates.
Quarterly updates.
Quarterly, yeah, so
Um,
I'm okay with it.
Unless anyone has an objection, I was thinking we would have a July meeting. And we're gonna be in full planning gear for Open Main Street a few weeks after that, so cool. And then the other item on there is about board responsibilities. And it really is sort of reinforcing meeting attendance and monthly involving commitments from people. Not looking at anyone in particular, but we've had board members who've been gotten pulled away quite a bit this year. I don't know if we want to talk about removal of anyone or not, but we do, if you are committing to a board position, that we do expect you to be attending meetings. We do expect you to be involved in at least one or more committees or task forces. And please, like, this is a volunteer organization, and if one person is dropping the ball on something, that means someone else is picking that up for you.
Also, this is outlined in bylaws. It's not a surprise. If you, for any reason, if you're, like, you've had a reason to be gone, and you told us, and we dealt with that. But if someone is gone for a few months and hasn't reported to anyone.
Yeah, that's different. I actually did say something, I resigned. I couldn't give it.
Yeah.
But what is it, 3 meetings? Or something like that.
Yeah, and life happens, work happens, we get it. But please, we need you to step up, especially now as we're heading into the summer. And we have a big calendar of events, so please, lean in on OPA, find the time.
I would suggest that anyone who has missed the meetings be told that if they don't come to the next meeting, they will drop.
I do have one-on-one conversations with anyone who's sort of off the radar. Cool. That's it for regular business. I believe, a couple, sort of technical items, minutes. Christina sent them out a few weeks ago. Is there a nomination or any questions about them? If not, is there a nomination to?
I move they do.
Yeah.
Will move to approve. Is there a second?
Yes.
Patty, all in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? Cool. Open floor for the last few minutes, unless, for anyone.
I'd like to say that we're going to be celebrating at the beach at Ocean Park, Make Music LA on Wednesday, the 21st. Dave has a few bands put together from 1 to 6. If you want to go to the parking lot where it's a 2-hour parking lot, it's right next door, exactly where it was last year. So Make Music LA will go continue. I don't know anyone else who's doing it.
I believe today, Jerry, is your 40th.
Oh, yeah. Thank everybody. Today was what a bit.
Is
me and Marissa's 40th wedding anniversary. It's Joseph's Tree of Life in Santa Monica Palisades Park. She passed away pancreatic cancer. Everyone was like a sunflower. I know some sunflowers. We had a lot of them from Memorial. She was there. All kinds of stuff. We're having our annual tree hugging day on the summer solstice, 5 o'clock.
Sorry, we ordered a flyover for you. Yes. That was for you.
Your courtesy of Sandy's Blossoms and you put in Eco, great flower shop. So they're right here, England, right at your house.
Thank you, Jerry. Thanks for everything you do.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Unless there's anything else, is there a nomination to adjourn the meeting? Jeff nominates that. Is there a second? So there, Robbie seconds, all in favor.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. I hope to see you 4th of July parade, our next meeting.